did not realize until this past week that I'm supernatural.
What the hell are you talking about?
Actually, it's hoodoo. A little different.
Charlotte's interview changes things for me, and it should change things for you as well. Because we've been forced this narrative, and in order for the story surrounding Mica's passing to remain logical, that narrative needs to be rock solid. But what happens when it isn't? Should law enforcement reopen this case? Let's take a step back and consider the source. So welcome to The Point. Let's get to it.
Copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act 1976. Allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, scholarship, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. Nonprofit, educational, or personal use tips the balance in favor of fair use.
This was the clip that went viral and set the world on fire. On the surface of it, you have a preacher in Myrtle Beach making an announcement that his wife had passed away. And not only did she pass away, they were in love. And what made a lot of us upset in this case is that John Paul sat up there in front of that congregation and told them several times that his wife wasn't well. She had troubles mentally. You all know this. It's well documented. But come to find out, those two individuals are in the middle of a pretty heated divorce. And does it not seem like every 5 or 6 hours we're getting to a new layer within this story? And if an open conversation is something you prefer, then hit that like button and leave a comment down below. Because for the longest time, despite what was said in interviews, the headlines continuously pushed that narrative stated by John Paul that Mica was just not well. But one of Mica's close friends very recently gave an interview to Sidebar, and she said this.
But in the message, it's dated April 5th, Mica writes you, "Thank you for your gentle warnings throughout the years regarding my relationship with the JP. I know that you knew I wasn't ready to get out, but looking back, your warnings were very helpful when trying to make tough life decisions. Definitely have replayed our convos in my head over and over throughout the years and wish there was something I could do to get out. And now I've done it," with a smiley face emoji. And then later on, she writes, "Yes, things are looking up and are headed in a great direction." What do you make of that?
I mean, they were. She had a new purpose in life. She had done a mission trip earlier that year, and it really sparked a heart for missions for her, and she had plans to go back and really had a new desire to become a missionary. She was working at a new job that she was loving. She'd finally taken legal moves, to end her previous chapter and start a new one. So things were looking up.
And she never indicated to you that she ever wanted to harm herself?
No, never.
Now you can correct me if I'm wrong, but is this not the 5th or 6th close friend to echo the idea that Mica was upbeat? Mica had a positive outlook on her future. Mica was looking forward to her life away from John Paul. And just as this idea starts to take root that Mica may not be as sick as what we originally thought, we have this statement made by the Godfather himself. And as I play this clip, you tell me if you're buying what he's saying or not.
I have a video of Mica on a mission where she tells last year how she took to kill herself and pulled the trigger and the bullet locked in the. In the second weeks of marriage, she went and got a gun and was outside the neighborhood when my son ran out to stop her. She spent the first 3 weeks in a mental facility and all the time since then. Her family refused to believe how sick she was. She was a very, very sick young woman.
Well, like I said in the beginning of the video, we got to consider the source here if we want to better understand the overall narrative and situation surrounding Mica's passing. And allegedly the source of all this, that Mica was sick, she needed to take her medicine, she refused to take her medicine, she was going into one of these episodes, has been driven by the Miller family. And while John Paul very early on wanted to remind everybody that Mica was so sick, I want to remind everyone, JP allegedly went through some stuff himself.
So, for the past 4 weeks, I've had the most horrible battle and horrible time of my entire life. I've never, ever, 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 not even close, been through what I'm going through right now in life. Not even close. Horrible. I mean, horrible so bad. I'm seeing a psychiatrist every week. I'm on 900 milligrams of lithium. I'm seeing a counselor every week. I'm going to inner healing. I'm going to deliverance 3 times a week with pastors in the area. I'm doing everything I can just to be able to get out of bed. I'm so depressed. I want to die. I'm battling thoughts. I have unforgiveness, hatred, demons coming out of me. Horrible. I'm in such a bad place. I spent my Friday night at Kelly's house with women over 50 years old watching them play bunco.
Now, this is an open discussion channel driven by your thoughts and comments. So you tell me what your take on the actual truth is, if the truth is somewhere in the middle. In terms of the truth, for me right now, it seems like both Mica and JP probably needed some help. And if all these stories are true, there is apparently more lithium in that Miller home than there is in a car battery. Now, of course, all things are alleged, but once again, it seems to me those two were oil and water, and they absolutely were not going to mix under any certain terms and conditions. And it's almost as if that relationship was set up to fail from the beginning because its foundations were built on sand. Now, in terms of their overall health, I can't say right now if this was all something that happened because both of them have some type of issue, or these issues arise after they got together. But for me right now, it's hard to give a clear answer on that because I don't believe we're at the last chapter here. In fact, I think we're just getting to the beginning of this story. But in terms of credibility, given everything the Francis family has said, the friends of Mica have said, and what the Miller family has said, I don't understand why the sheriff's department didn't do a full-on investigation, regardless of how the scene looked. Now, that wasn't my original take, but the more I hear these interviews and the more I hear these stories, it certainly seemed that that was a big error, especially knowing what we know now. It has been verified through multiple news agencies. The FBI is investigating something, but I don't think anything criminally in terms of the actual act of Mica's passing will come of any of it. My personal guess is this investigation has something to do with the financials. This has something to do with the financials and the money surrounding that church and John Paul Miller. And of course we don't know that for sure because everything is alleged and nobody's been charged with anything. But in the event that we don't get any charges for the actual physical act of Mica passing, would y'all consider it justice if something came of this possible FBI investigation? If they were able to tie some type of crime to that church, members of that church, or the Miller family, would you consider that justice for Mica? Let me know down in the comments below. Y'all be safe now.